no food and the food dying John. Over here is Jessica, and this is what we do. Teach you in a way that makes it fun for all of you. Alright.
A very good morning to everyone. So this is group 1 and today we will be discussing more about classifying life diversity. So we're going to start with a role play in which Patrika is our teacher and we all are the learning students.
Okay. Good morning, class.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good.
So for our class today, we will be going out on an adventure to the safari in the forest. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
So you're going to take this time to identify different animals in the safari. Let's go.
Okay. Oh. Look, I see a cat.
No, that's a dog.
No. It is a cat, guys.
It's a dog.
It looks like a horse. It is a cat.
I know it's okay, guys. It's okay. It's okay. That's not either what you guys said. However, I will take this time to tell you what species it is and how the name classify and identify this. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Have you ever stopped to think about how many different amount of species is on the planet we call Earth? From the smallest bacteria to the largest animals, such as the blue whale. So far, scientists have estimated to have approximately 5 million to 20 million species on our planet Earth. About 2 million species are named and identified, which means there are more unknown species than known species. Isn't this amazing? Yes, it is. Now let's take the time to find out what species is. So a species is a group of closely related organisms that are able to interbreed in nature and produce fertile offspring. The importance of identifying species. It is very important to identify species because one, doctors need to determine what kind of bacteria affects a patient so he can prescribe the proper medication. The next one is farmers need to be able to tell what type of weed is growing beside their plant. That way they can provide the proper pesticide to get rid of this. Okay, so the next topic is the type of species using species concept. The first one is morphological species concept. The second is biological species concept. And the third is phylogenetic species concept. Let's begin with the first one. So morphological species concept is a group of individuals that has a common morphology. In other words, they have the same body type, shape, and structural feature. Here's an example of a morphological species concept. So they look alike, but they are not exactly the same. This is another example where the ladybugs have the same features, but they have different structural feature as well as colors, right? So the advantages and disadvantages of morphological species concept. One, it's easy and it's very simple concept that's used worldwide by scientists. Disadvantage is there's too much variation for individuals or scientists to determine how different they are between them. Okay, so the next concept is biological species concept. This is where two species can interbreed in nature to produce a fertile offspring. This will determine the type of species it is. This is not an example of biological species because when a lion and a tiger produce, or they mate, they produce a liger. They do not produce offspring. And when a donkey and a horse mate, they produce mules and they do not produce offspring. Okay, so the biological advantages and disadvantages. It is widely used, known concept by scientists, and disadvantages. Populations are too spread out, so they're unable to mate together. That way they can't tell when the opportunity arises what species they are. The last one is the phylogenetic species concept, is where species are examined using phylogeny evolutionary of an organism. This way they use DNA to determine if the species are closely related. So the advantages and disadvantages of this, it's becoming a very popular method used by scientists. And you will know this for sure when DNA combined, you can tell for sure if they are the same species. And disadvantages, evolutionary history for different species are unknown, so you cannot tell if they're from the same generation.
So once researchers have figured out which organisms qualify as different species,
species, a name needs to be given to them. So sometimes around the world, animals have different names. So here in Canada, for example, we have a groundhog. In different parts of the world, they may call it a woodchuck or a whistle pig. So in order to create one name for scientists to all understand and use, we created a naming system. So to the branch of biology that identifies and names and classifies species is called taxonomy. The Swedish scientist named Carlos Linnaeus is credited with developing the system. He's also known as the father of taxonomy. So he developed a system for naming species. It's called binomial nomenclature. It's really important. There's two different parts to it. So part one is the genus, which it has to be capitalized. The second part, it identifies with a particular species, and this is not capitalized. The entire name needs to be italicized as well, and when written it needs to be underlined, and it's very specific because scientists do use it that way. So to understand and demonstrate and communicate the relationships in life's diversity, scientists need a set of agreed upon criteria to help classify these species. So that's where they came in with the classification system. This is just a broad example of the classification system, just using sports and how you could divide sports into team sports and non-team sports, such as soccer and hockey, and then tennis and golf. This is sort of what we use today, but with the organisms on our planet.
Okay, so we are now going to explain our 3D model here. The 3D model is the taxonomy classification. Now, what is taxonomy categories are grouping, and they have been divided into different arrangements that are according to the hierarchy here. So if you see here, all the species are classified into different categories. There are 8 categories, and each category, they are known as ranks. So as the rank goes higher, the species gets less and less. The first one, that is the first rank, that is known as domain. Domain, what it is, it's considered as the whole of the entire Earth. So every species, just as Patricia mentioned, there are around 11 to 20 million species. All the species are covered in domain. So domain, they have the plants, they have animals, they have all different types of insects. Anything that you see is living is considered under domain. The second rank, it is known as kingdom. Kingdom, what it considers is, it is also a large variety of species in there, but it is less than the domain. So kingdom, it consists of around 2 million of different types of species in kingdom.
Okay, let's go on to third level. Third level is right here, which says phylum Chordata. This is extremely diversified category, which contains approximately 43,000 of species. The animals are fundamentally characterized as the vertebrates and have closed circulatory system. These animals have heart, which has 2 chambers, 3 or 4. Our next class is right here, class Mammalia. These are highly advanced, organized amongst the vertebrates. The main features is that they have a mammary gland. They are warm-blooded, they have hair on their body and sweat glands. They have 4 chambers in the heart. Body can also be divided into head, neck, trunk, and tail. They use their lungs for the respiratory system. Let's get into the next class. That's the order. Right there it says carnivora. These are the group meat-eating animals. They have a backbone, they give birth, and that's why the egg-laying animals are actually eliminated in here. The main categories would include cats, weasels, bear, and dogs.
Okay, so next we have the family, also known as the Felidae. These are a family of tigers. They're all members of this group, specialized because they're able to hunt for their food, which is their prey. The next one is genus, or Panthera. This category consists of lion, tiger, and leopard. They're characterized based on their ability to roar. And the last one is the species, which is the tigress, is the largest cat species. All the information from the domain right up to species is in relation to the tigress. And there's a way to remember this. It's dead king play cards on flat stool. Okay, and that's
Okay, so now just as we learned about the taxonomic classification of all kinds of species, how can we determine what species is falling under what rank? How do we know where to put which animal into which categories? So there are different ways that the species are assigned to taxonomic classification, reflecting on their morphological as well as their evaluation history. So the living organisms are capable of exchanging genes or interbreeding falls in one species. Now here is an example here. You see the picture here, that is a duck-billed platypus. They have the characteristics of both mammal, they have mammary gland, and yet they can also have eggs. Just like an example, a human being laying eggs. So it has a beak like a duck, it has a foot like an otter, it also has a tail like a beaver. So this animal, it has all the characteristics of different kinds of animals. Now there are certain ways that we can see which category does this animal fall under. So as we can see here, how do scientists determine species? What is the concept of the shared evolution? And what are the examples of different species? How we can categorize them into different places? So there are certain ways. There are three ways that we can classify them. The first one is anatomical. So anatomical, they study the structure of a body. They see what is the shape, what is the size, and their physical features of an organism. The second one, it is the physiological. It's the functioning of the body. How does the internal system work? What kind of proteins are they made up of? And the third one would be DNA. The DNA is the genetics. They see what characteristics each species match with the other species to fall under the same category. Now, for the anatomical evidence of relationship, the anatomy is a study of the structure of the organism. So, the study determined on basis of similar structure inherited. If you see two species looking similar, they will fall under the same category of the ranks in the taxonomy. So let's see the example. You see a bone structure here that is for a human, horse, cat, bat, bird, and a whale. They all have the same bone structure, but they use it in a different ways. Now, how they use it makes them different from having the same structure with the different types of, like they can fly, they can swim, they can run, and they can also gas. So it just depends on how the bones are used. They are, by generations and evolution, they change their structures of bones as well. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about physiological evidence of relationship. Now, physiology it means it's the branch of biology dealing with physical and chemical functions of species, including their internal process and any parts and how they make their protein, whether it's enzymes or as a part of the cells or tissue. Species proteins are determined by its species genes, since every genes are coded structures of making protein. By comparing protein among different species, they can determine the differences or similarities. Modern technology has provided new tools it's easy, new tools that can use compared to different species at this level, which have led to some species being reclassified. Now we have all guinea pig and mouse related. They're not related. Once guinea pigs were once considered to be in the rodent order of Rodentia. How are they not related? And analysis of several proteins, including insulin protein structure, suggested that guinea pigs were sufficiently different from other rodents, and they should be replaced in a different order. Okay. We have horseshoe crab and a spider here. The differences between these two, how are they related? Horseshoe crabs are more closely related to argonauts, a group of that includes spiders and scorpions, then a crustacean, a group that includes true crabs and lobsters and shrimp. How are they related? Okay, studies of blood proteins in horseshoe crab shows that this animal is related to modern spiders. DNA evidence of relationship between fungi, animal, and a plant. So now fungi and animal, the reason they're kind of related because both of them, they don't produce their own food like plants do. So they have to get their food from outside, like external sources for energy and everything. And fungi and animals share a molecule called chitin that is not found in plants. Vultures and storks. Similarity in DNAs can be used to help show evolutionary relationship as species have changed. So we have a Canadian turkey vulture, Asian, and African stork. So back in this is years ago, with the African and Asian and Canadian vultures were classified together in one family, and storks were a different family. Now, how the Canadian turkey vultures are related to the storks is that these two birds are the only bird that urinate on their legs. It's to keep them cool from in hot weather, and to keep their legs clean and to kill the bacteria. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, so our next tree model is known as the phylogenetic tree. Okay, so this shows the evolutionary relationship between various species of hoofed animals. The first one I'm going to speak about is Artiodactyla. This is where animals such as mammals group together because they either have 2 or 4 toe hooves, and in this case we're doing a deer that has 4 hooves.
Family of the Cervidea is a large family of ruminant mammals that are distinguished from related Bovidae by a position of a solid Dietisch outros. And
Okay, let's come on to genus. Let's talk about this, the Reindeer. These are the mammals that are also known as the reindeers. Cervus. These are the native deers of Eurasia, Asia, and North America. Oryx. These are one of the 4th largest mammal in genus. These are actually natives of northern Africa. And Apatosaurus. These are African antelope, or also known as impalas. They are known for their hopping capability.
So for this species, we have the Randifertirandus. They have very large antlers compared to their body size. Their color depends on the season, and they have a dense woolly undercoat with a long hair overcoat. The next one is a Cervus elephas. They have a relatively long tail, reddish-brown coat, and a crown-style antler. This is the Oryx gazelle. So their antelope species has light brown-gray fur with contrasting dark markings on their face and their legs, and their horns are almost straight. This is the Apiceros melampus, and they're medium-sized and slender with circular and ridged like antlers, their horns, and they have a glossy coat with a two-tone coloration as well.
Okay, now let's talk about the importance of classification. It helps biologists to understand the incredible diversity on the life of Earth. Scientists have found millions of species. The most diverse being is the insects, and still are being discovered. It helps to keep everything organized. Before binomial non-culture was developed, naming was not standardized. One species may have more than one name, and that was kind of confusing. Taxonomy acts like a browser. It narrows down the research. Researching and communicating between the biologists could be difficult. Imagine if people, things had same name. If all the names were wrong or replaced, everything will be chaotic. Taxonomy works as a functional infrastructure for all the discoveries till date. Okay, continuing. Classification enables scientists to explain the relationship between their organisms, which is helpful in trying to reconstruct the evolutionary route of the particular species. For example, in the US, there is a fish known as the peculiar. One can be eaten, other can't be. This is because they come from different species, but they have the same common name. Specific name give us more clarity on the issues that have more common names. It helps us to identify species that have potential to help and connection with others. It can help us to find relationship in the same trait. For example, if a drug is being made from a bee, could bee be related to other bees that are found in all parts of the world? Could all the bees be used to find the same product? You have to know what species it is and what species are they related to produce and test more drugs. From agriculture point of view, classification helps in crossbreeding of plants. It enables biologists to control over diseases, etc. To do so, specific information about the species is required, which can be obtained from taxonomical charts. That will be the end of our presentation. Thank you for watching.